I think that it's prepared me. Yeah.
Wonderful. And Abhishek, back to you as a freshman. So you went through this process a year ago. How important was it to choose a school based on where your friends were going?
So for me, I think it really depends on the person to like decide whether they want a school like how they want to choose based on that. But for me, I think it was like helpful. Like it was definitely helpful having my friends at my school. But I'm a pretty like extroverted person and feel like comfortable going more out of my way to talk to people. So it wasn't like a huge aspect when I was considering it. But yeah.
And do you still keep up with some of your friends from Montessori?
Yeah, I've been able to stay in touch with a lot of my friends.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Excellent. And Sienna, how about you as far as choosing a school? Did any other Montessori people go over with you? Did you go by yourself? How did you feel about that?
I think one other person went over with me, so for me it wasn't like very huge picking a school where the rest of my friends went because like you'll make friends at a new school. So yeah.
That sounds wonderful. And again, you really feel good about the community over there.
Yeah.
And so, for all three of you, is there anything that students should do over the summer to prepare for ninth grade at a new school?
This isn't like academic necessarily, but I feel like playing a fall sport definitely helped because like starting in the summer, you were meeting new people and new freshmen that were also going in to your same school. And so having them like from the first day of school, I think was really nice for me at least.
Oh, that's a wonderful observation, Phoebe. Thank you. And Abhishek and Sienna, what did you do any preparation over the summer to sort of get ready to go into a new school setting?
For me, I kind of tried to like, I guess, polish up on my like older like skills. I guess like my like math class, which I knew I would be going on to like algebra 2 in high school. So I tried to like revise a bit like of geometry and algebra, and then like same with other subjects. But for the most part, I also tried to like enjoy the summer because I kind of expected ninth grade to be a bigger change and like a little more stressful. So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. And Sienna, anything to add to that?
I would say like try to meet new people that are like meet people at your school at the school that you're going to because it helps for like when you go there to know people already going there.
And that's wonderful. Did any of you have specific assignments from your school that you needed to do academically?
For us, we didn't have any summer homework.
We had summer reading and then just like an assignment with the summer reading, like certain questions. But like at my school, they have the same questions all 4 years, but for different books. But yeah.
I think we had like summer math homework or something like that.
Gotcha. So you were able to the schools were able to communicate with you and let you know if you needed to do something specific, but that's good. So Abhishek, I'll start with you since you're most freshly out of this process. What would be some tips that you could give to our current eighth graders and middle schoolers about the application process to go to high school?
Um, so I'd say, um, I'd say like make sure to like, well, one thing is like don't stress about it too much because like in the end it all works out. I would say, here, wait, I think I had a thing that I wrote for this, so I'll try to quickly find that.
Oh, great.
Um, but yeah, for the most part, just um, like don't stress about it too much because it all works out in the end. And like I know a lot of people say that, but it really does just like happen in the end, and it's not like something to stress about too much. And don't like unnecessarily try to apply like cram in as many like different high schools to apply for because I think in the end all the stress and everything isn't worth it, and like the quality of your applications like suffers. And yeah.
Thank you. Sienna, what would you give us some tips for the application process?
Yeah, I agree with Abhishek to like not stress about it because no matter what school you end up at, it's gonna work out for you somehow. So like just don't stress about it and yeah.
That sounds like a good Montessori spirit. I like that. And Phoebe, almost 4 years removed, what are some tips you could have for us?
I also put don't stress about it, but I know I was gonna say it seems like a lot of work in the moment, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And just make sure you go to like the open houses and make sure you have as much information as you can get so that you can see if it's like really a good fit for you. Yeah.
Thank you. And there was a question, did you have any thoughts or recollections of taking the SSAT, and how was that as an experience?
I only applied to one private school, so I didn't, and it was Trinity, so I took their like their test that they had and not the SSAT, so I don't really like have anything on that.
Well, how about describing the Trinity testing format? Give us a little feel about that.
From what I remember, I'm pretty sure it was fill in the bubbles, like so multiple choice for the most part, and then there was like a tiny little writing prompt at the end. And it kind of just had like basic stuff like math, reading, writing. Yeah.
Thank you. Sienna, did you do the SSAT?
No, I don't really remember. I think I did do one kind of test because I did apply to Trinity, so I think I did the Trinity test, but I'm not sure.
Gotcha. And Phoebe, I know you've done the SAT more recently.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely. um, I do remember that. I kind of remember the SSAT. I would just say just like refresh your algebra because I remember I think I took geometry in 8th grade, and so algebra wasn't like as fresh in my head. So just like touch up on that, and then just make sure you're like reading because that really does help with the reading sections. Just like reading a little bit every day, I would say. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. So Phoebe, I'll start with you on this one. What were some of the hardest aspects of transitioning to Maggie Walker from RMS?
I would say other than the size of the school and kind of like um making friends, like making close friends, but I would say like studying and learning how to study for tests because I know at RMS I don't really remember having like super big or hard tests that I like really had to study for, and so just making sure like you develop good study habits early because it'll really help you. Yeah.
Good advice. Thank you. Sienna, so what were some transition issues or obstacles that you might have faced?
Yeah, I agree with Phoebe. I think you really need to learn how to study because there's more tests and quizzes and stuff like that. And it's also like a bigger school with a lot more people, so it's kind of like just getting used to that.
And Abhishek, you're most recently transitioned from RMS. What was it like for you? What were some of the interesting facets of that for you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sienna and Phoebe about like studying because there are a lot more tests and quizzes and stuff like that. That like there's at least like a few each week usually, at least for me. And another thing that was like kind of difficult for me was getting used to different resources that we use. So like for us we use like Schoology and Power School to like Power School for our grades, Schoology for like getting our assignments and stuff. And so one thing that was kind of hard was that I like before I didn't have accounts in them, and so it was kind of a struggle to like learn my login details for those. Even like within like the first week where we were having classes and stuff, I still didn't know how to get into Schoology, which was the main part, which was like giving me my assignments. So I had to like at one point ask my biology teacher and just be like, how do I even navigate all of these? And she like told me how to get in. So just like that was one of the biggest struggles for me.
So I guess the advice is to ask when you need help, which we're all
Yeah,
prepared to do. That's
yeah.
wonderful. So now at RMS, I think we try to balance workload and fun and experiential learning. How have you found that at your high school with the balance between fun and learning? We'll start with you, Abhishek.
Um, I Can you? Yeah. Okay. I think there's definitely a lot more homework, but it's like manageable for the most part. But it's really important to stay on top of your homework, like make sure you're not really missing too much or being lazy about it, because most teachers in high school won't accept late work. And but with that being said, I still think like I'm able to talk to friends and engage in my hobbies, have fun, go to like football games, stuff like that. So it's not like something that like, oh, I'm staying up till like 1 o'clock in the morning studying or something like that.
That sounds great. Sienna, what about you?
Yeah, I
About
agree. I feel like there is a lot more like homework and stuff like that, but there's also more like clubs and after school activities and sports that you get to do, which is nice.
excellent. And Phoebe?
Yeah, I would definitely say my school, we have a homework policy that's like 30 minutes a night per class. But even within, like, I mean, stuff can pile up if you choose to like procrastinate. But I would say, I mean, I've like played sports all 4 years and it hasn't really affected that as much. Like, I still have time to go to practice every day or on the weekends if there's something fun happening. So you kind of just have to like work harder to balance it yourself because the teachers aren't as worried about that as I feel like at RMS. They like intentionally try to make it so that like you have balance. So I'd say you just have to work harder to keep balance for yourself. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm a big balance fan. That's wonderful. So my next question is, how is the community and philosophy of education at your school compared to Montessori, to your experience at Richmond Montessori? Phoebe, we'll start with you.
I'd say at Montessori it was a lot more of learning at your own pace and yeah, like knowing that everyone was different, everyone learns differently, and teachers kind of like I feel like adapted to students learning styles more. But I feel like at Maggie Walker, it's kind of like each teacher has their own style of teaching, and sometimes I mean they I do ask, I think at the beginning of the year, questions about like how you learn best, but at the end of the day like they kind of have their own teaching styles, and so you just have to kind of learn to adapt to how they teach. And like I know personally for me, like lecturing and stuff isn't really how I learn, but some teachers teach like that. So you kind of just have to get used to that a little bit more. Yeah.
Understood. Sienna, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of teachers start using lectures more and they don't really adapt to like the individual person's needs as much as like the teachers at Montessori do. But I think like when it comes to community, at least at my school, it's like kind of a smaller school, so there's kind of like a tight-knit community like at RMS.
Wonderful. And you keep going back to that. It's lovely to hear. And Abhishek, how about you?
For my experience, I think like the education is a lot less like hands-on than RMS, so it's not really like you have different materials and stuff. It's a lot more like worksheets and writing notes from like a slideshow or something. I don't think it was like too hard to get used to, but it was like an adjustment, still it was still a big part of that. And then like the other said, like I think some teachers will like lecture, so it's kind of hard to like understand where to take notes and like where it's not necessary. So yeah.
Gotcha. I had a question. If you could think back to your middle school years, specifically eighth grade, what is one of your strongest memories that brings you a good smile when you think back to Richard Montessori?
I think the field studies are one of my strongest memories. I really enjoyed them.
Well, did you have one in particular that really stood out?
The one in seventh grade when we went to New York, that one was fun.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Abhishek or PB?
Yeah, same. Probably MMUN for me, because it was just fun, like being independent like that and like hanging out with my friends and stuff like that.
And Phoebe?
Yeah, I was also gonna say Model UN. I think that was the most fun. The farm one was also fun, but yeah.
That's wonderful. So now thinking about transitioning from Montessori to your high school, what was the biggest challenge you faced in those first few weeks of school? Abhishek?
One thing that was kind of like difficult is at first, at least for me, was getting to class on time, especially like right after my first period because my we have like 5 minutes to get to our next class, and my like other class was on the complete like other side of the school, so I'd basically be having to like run to my next class at first, and like some people walk slowly in the hallways, and it's kind of like annoying. So yeah, that was one thing, and then also um like making up like it's kind of hard to make up work if you're like absent, but like the general rule is that if you're absent for like a due date or an assignment or something, then you have like however many days you were absent plus one more day to turn in your work. But it was just like sometimes you wouldn't be able to see the assignments on Schoology, and then you'd have to text your friends, and then like also some teachers take a long time to grade, so then it would like bring your grade down and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a whole mess doing that. And then I have two more, which is
Oh,
asking teachers
sure.
questions in class is or after class. I mean, because you're kind of having to like get to a bunch of different classes in time, and you don't really have like a specific classwork period where you can just like go up to your teacher and ask them a question like we did at RMS. So it's kind of like you email them, and then if they don't answer, then that's kind of like you kind of have to figure it out for yourself. So yeah, I'd say those are some of the hardest aspects.
And for the most part, Abhishek, email is the way that you communicate with your teachers outside of speaking to them.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Sienna, how about you? What was one of the greatest challenges you faced going over to Stewart?
I think the hardest part was just like getting used to the school and getting used to everything.
And how long before you felt sort of comfortable do you think that took?
Like 2 or 3 weeks, I would say.
Well, that's great. And Phoebe, how about you? What was one major challenge going over to Maggie Walker from Montessori?
I would just say the like classroom styles and like how long the classes were. I think our classes are like an hour and a half each, and then Fridays we have all classes. So just like adjusting to the new schedule is kind of difficult. And also like I think someone said before, but like advocating for yourself with teachers and stuff because they might not read your emails that fast. So you kind of have to like go out of your way to make sure that they've like seen your email or just to ask them questions. I think like Abhishek said. Yeah.
Gotcha. So now I'm going to ask the three of you to think about this last month of school for you. Okay, just this last month. What were two things that made you smile, that made you really happy at the school you are? Abhishek?
I really like the clubs because they're actually pretty fun, and you can like do them with your friends or meet new people in your clubs. And like for me, I'm like in like the Asian Student Alliance, so then I can learn about like cultures that relate to my culture and then other cultures in Asia and stuff like that. And then also other clubs that I can just participate in with my friends. So that's one thing. And then another thing that I really like about my school is that it's the learning in the center, especially, is very discussion based. So I'm able to like it's just it caters more to like my interest in learning. So yeah, I like that.
So would you say the seminars in the middle school help prepare you for the leadership program?
Yeah, definitely. I think those are really good, and yeah, they kind of like help me like feel comfortable talking and like expressing my opinion. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you. So Sienna, can you share two smiles with us from the last month or so of school?
I think two things that have made me smile are, like Abhishek said, the clubs. I'm in, I can't remember, but I'm in Diversity Club, and I think that club is really fun. And another thing that made me smile is I'm in this program, the leadership program, and it kind of teaches you how to be a leader, which is cool.
Oh, great. And Phoebe, senior year, two smiles.
I think our senior or our pep rally before homecoming was really fun because I think like it was the first time that we all really like came together as seniors, and I think that was really fun. And then we have this thing called senior seminar, and mine is like Black Literature, Black Lives seminar, and it's been one of my favorite classes that I think that I've took at Maggie Walker. And so just anytime I'm in that class, it's a good time. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So thinking about the high school application process, Abhishek and Sienna and Phoebe, what would be a few things that you wish you had known when you went through that process that you sort of figured out after the fact that you could share with our students and parents?
Probably for me, kind of the same thing that I said before. Ultimately, it all just like works out really well. And so not to really like stress too much about it. And so I think, and also, well, I mean, this was something that I did, but I think it would be helpful for other people to know is like, um, if you're in seventh grade and then if you're like going into eighth grade, one thing that I did was that I looked at old prompts or like application whatever like questions that were asked, and I kind of like jotted down like ideas related to those, and so I think that was really helpful. So yeah.
Oh, those are great. Thank you. Sienna?
I think one thing I wish I had known was to like trust my parents, because I kind of went to Stewart like in the end, when I was choosing between high schools, I was choosing between Stewart and Trinity, and I wanted to go to Trinity because all of my friends were going to Trinity, but my parents wanted me to go to Stewart, so I ended up going to Stewart, and I think like they made a good decision and they knew what was best for me, so I think like trusting your parents is a good idea.
That's very wonderful. Thank you, Sienna. And Phoebe, how about you?
I was also in pretty much the same situation as Sienna, where I wanted to go to Trinity because a lot of my friends from RMS were going there. Um, but I think that just knowing that, like, even if your friends don't go to your high school, like, it'll still be fine. Like, you might not end up being like super close friends with your middle school friends in high school, anyways. And so, just like, don't make that like your main reasoning, I guess, for wanting to choose a high school, because there are like plenty of other opportunities at other high schools that you may pass up. Yeah, if that's your main focus, I think.
Thank you. So let's play Venn diagram. Similarities and differences. What, Abhishek, what are two things that are similar between RMS and the Leadership Center?
Um, the seminars, because in my leadership class we analyze text a lot, so we're currently analyzing the little print, and so that's one thing that's similar. And um I guess, I mean, like the fact that you have like a lot of different classes with like your friends and stuff. Like I remember thinking like, oh, like it's such a big school, like I'll probably have no classes with my friends, but I was able to like have classes with my friends, so that was pretty nice. And people like, I think a lot of times like movies or something like dramatize how bad people are in high school, but really there are like a lot of nice people in high school who are like nice to make friends with. So that's kind of similar to RMS because it's like a community and you can make friends with a lot of different people.
Okay, we'll come back to differences in a moment. Sienna, how about two similarities from Stewart and Montessori?
I would say one similarity is the community, definitely, and then another similarity is how the teachers like care about you and want you to succeed.
Oh, that's nice. And Phoebe, how about you? Some similarities between Maggie Walker and Montessori?
I think one similarity is like you have to know how to work with people. And I know at RMS, there wasn't really like any conflicts, at least for me. But in high school, like you may have to work with people that you're not as close with. So I think like RMS kind of prepared me for that. And then I would also say the community, just because everyone's kind of going through the same thing as you. And so you can relate to them, at least on that level. Yeah.
Thank you. So Abhishek, back to you for two differences, two things that are different from your leadership school and Montessori?
One thing is that you have to take a lot more initiative because um like if you want say a meeting like you know how we have like agenda meetings or like with our advisors every morning, and then we can talk about our issues, or we can just like go to our advisors and talk to them about whatever our issues are. But in our high school, at least, we have to like fill out a request to do a meeting, and then we also need a lot of different passes to go to different places. So if we want to like go to the bathroom, we can't just like leave. We have to like go to like get a pass and stuff like that. So that's one difference. And then another difference is that there's a lot more quizzes and tests, and I was kind of surprised by that because I remember in Montessori I would have maybe one assessment a week, but now I like have like a couple assessments. And at first I was like always really sorry, my mom's doing the dishes in the background, but
That's okay.
be like at first I was like super stressed, like I would be cramming for like assessments like every night, but now I think I kind of got the hang of it. But yeah, just like practice forming good study habits like Sienna Phoebe said before.
Thank you. Sienna, two differences from Stewart School to Montessori?
Yeah, I agree with Abhishek. You definitely have to take more initiative and be more vocal about what you want to like your teachers and stuff like that. And I also agree that like there's a lot more quizzes and tests and homework and work that you need to learn how to do. And that's why you need to have good study habits.
There you go. And Phoebe, a couple of differences from Maggie Walker and Montessori.
I would say that the teacher relationships are definitely different. I just remember being, I think, a lot closer with my teachers at RMS, and like even now, like some of us like still will keep in contact and stuff. Not that like teachers at in high school like don't care, but it's just like they have a lot more students to deal with, so the relationships are just like a little bit different because they have less time for each student. And then I would also say the workload, not just like quizzes and tests, but also homework load, and it's a lot more busy work, I'd say, than at RMS. Yeah.
Thank you. And how about group work, Abhishek, comparing Montessori to your high school as far as group work versus individual work?
So far we have actually had like at first I thought it would mainly be like individual work, but so far we've been able to have like group projects and stuff that we do with other people, and we've had like I don't know, if we have like classwork, we'll be able to like work with our friends on it. But there are definitely things that we can't like do for group work. So yeah. I mean, yeah.
Gotcha. And Sienna, how about at Stewart School?
I think it kind of just depends on the class. Some classes have more group work and other classes have like less group work, but I think that there is at least like one or two group projects per like semester in each class.
Thank you. And Phoebe, how about you?
I would say there's maybe like one big group project per quarter, maybe. And so, yeah, there's really not as much group work if I can remember. And yeah, there's really not as much. And I feel like with the group work here, it's more like everybody kind of like has their part that you kind of do, and then you like come together more than like all doing everything together. Yeah.
Okay, I've got one more for you, and then we're going to open it up. Folks who are here can add to the chat with a question, and then I'll read it out to our panelists. What was one thing that Montessori did really well that prepared you for high school? Phoebe, we'll start with you.
I think I may have said this before, but I think just like working with other people and like being able to adapt, because even though the transition was hard, I feel like RMS kind of helped with like my people skills a little bit and me being able to like adapt to that aspect of high school.
Thank you. How about you, Sienna?
Yeah, I agree. RMS definitely taught me well how to like use people skills, and also I think like they taught me how to be more confident, like with expert project and the graduation speech. We're good in like preparing me to just be more confident.
Thank you. And Abhishek, how about you?
Yeah, I'd say what like Phoebe and Sienna said, and then also like I guess teaching me how to be more independent, like with like my own life, I guess, like with MMUN and like how we used to do like practical life things and stuff like that. So just like um doing that stuff in high school, like learning how to do stuff on your own was pretty helpful.
Thank you. Well, we'll open it up to our audience. If you want to ask a question to any or all of our three panelists, please type it in and I'll read them out. So how did you guys prepare for the application tests? That's a good question. So Abhishek and Sienna and Phoebe, you remember there were application tests for some of the schools. What kind of preparation did you do for those?
For Maggie Walker, I remember the essay was kind of the big thing. I don't know if they still have the essay, but I remember, I think at RMS too, we were just like practicing essays, practicing timed essays. I think that was the only preparation I really did was with the essay portion. Yeah.
Yeah, same with me. My mom had me like made me like I think some at like certain points my mom made me like go a little overboard with studying for the test. Like my Henrico test, she was like, okay, you need to study like algebra, like geometry, all this stuff. And then it ended up being a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. I'm not gonna say it was like easy, but it was a lot easier than I thought it was gonna be. And then um, another thing that I would say that you should prepare for is, well, one, the like timed essays and stuff, and also like make sure when you're like filling out like problems, like multiple choice problems, you don't like get backed up by one question because that can completely like jeopardize your test because then like basically all of those answers would be wrong. And so yeah, that's what I would recommend because that kind of happened to me on the Trinity test, like towards the very like last like maybe 5 questions. It didn't like hinder me too much, but I would just say like it's worth like looking over.
Sienna?
Yeah, I don't really remember what I did to prepare for my test, but I would say just like study, but don't go overboard on the study.
Thank you. And I had a question about once you were into the school you were in, what kind of procedures did the high schools put in place to decide where to place you for your Spanish or your Latin or your math? What was the process there to decide on your freshman classes based on what classes you took at Montessori?
For me, I took Latin, so it literally just like had me do the next level for Latin, and same with like the other like things like math. I just did the next level for which would be algebra 2. And then my other classes for biology, for like science, we had a few different options, but they recommended like biology for 9th graders, so I took that. So yeah.
Excellent. And Ms. Waite had a question. Did any of you have an in-person interview as part of your application process?
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't, but yeah.
For open, I remember there was an interview. I think it was more just like a get to know you kind of thing. It was pretty stressful like going into it just because I had never been in an interview, but I remember coming out and feeling pretty good. I think they just wanted to get a sense of like who everyone was outside of their application and test.
Yeah, I think I also had like a get to know you interview, but it wasn't in person, it was online.
And I'll guess for all three of you, did you take an opportunity to sort of visit with the school that you're going to and sort of get involved with the community, whether it was to go see an athletic event or a fair or a cultural event? You know, was there a way for you to sort of check out the school before you decided to go to it?
Sorry. We had shadowing for ours, so that's how I got how I chose my school because I saw the community and like what each class was like. So I think definitely like even if you're not sure if you want to go to a school, like if you're like, oh well, I don't really think this would be a good school for me to go to, but I would say just like why not check it out? You know, it's just like you might like it. So yeah.
Good advice. Thank you.
I did like a tour, and then I think once I was actually in the school, like I was going to go there, there were like events like an ice cream social and stuff like that so that you could meet new people.
Great.
I would say the same thing. We had shadow days and open houses, like I think before we applied, but then shadow days after we applied. And that was the first time that I was really in my school and got to like see the different classes and like how a normal day would look. Yeah.
Okay, so Abhishek, how did you prepare for the video portion of the Freeman application? Abhishek, I'm sure he'll be back. That's a good question. So I'll ask Sienna and Phoebe, were there particular people in the middle school who were instrumental in helping you prepare for your application process? And what sort of advice did they give you?
I can't specifically remember. Let me think. I think that Miss Simpson maybe helped. Like we were writing essays just to practice and stuff. And I think she helped with that. I think Miss Parham also helped, just with like the high school process in general. But I don't really remember much of the specifics.
And so Abhishek, you're back. Welcome back. We had a question for you. How did you prepare for the video portion of the Freeman application?
Yeah, so we had to do like a current event thing. So I tried to I just like tried to think about like what topics am I really interested in. I did so I just like looked over a lot of news articles. I watched like I YouTube isn't like the best source for like information, but I was like able to find different like events that happened and then delve into actual information like sites, websites and stuff like that to really prepare myself for that. So I think that's something. And then also I remember, at least for my center, I remember that some of my like friends were saying like, oh, maybe don't do a specific, or not my friends but mainly my family were like, oh, maybe don't do a specific topic because it might seem controversial. But I did choose a kind of controversial topic and it didn't really like I got in. So I don't think that's like something you should shy away from because I think they like to see that you are willing to speak about certain issues that not everyone feels comfortable speaking about, you know?
Thank you. Well, while we're waiting for a few more questions to come in, I'll ask you all, what is something you miss about Montessori?
I feel like I just miss like the freedom. You could kind of work where you wanted, like choose. At least when I was there, like you could just like choose what you wanted to work on in like certain time frames as long as it got done. And I feel like there was just a lot more time to socialize in general and like just yeah, talk to your friends. And school wasn't really stressful. I feel like at least for me. So I always had fun. So.
Sienna?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
agree. I think RMS was definitely a lot less stressful, and you had more time to be like free and more time to talk with your friends, and I think it was more fun.
Yeah, I agree. I think RMS was a lot more fun, and I had more freedom to like go around the school as I wanted and like eat outside for a snack or something like that. And then there was a more like tight knit community, so I kind of like knew everybody, and so that was a lot of fun. So yeah.
thank you. So the question is, are most tests taken on computers or on paper?
I think at my school, most tests are taken on paper.
Yeah, I would agree. Mostly on paper now.
For
Yeah.
me, it's sorry. For me, it's on the computer mostly.
And so Abhishek, you've got a one-to-one program at your school?
Sorry, can you say that again?
You have a one-to-one program at your school with a laptop?
Uh, Sorry, what do you mean by that?
So the school issued you a computer?
Oh yeah, yeah. They gave us our computer, but the one thing was that they the computers took a really long time like for them to be ready because a lot of people hadn't like returned their computers last year, so that was kind of like annoying, and especially because my like first period class that I had like every day was tech drawing and design, or is tech drawing and design, so that's literally like on the computer, so that was a little bit annoying, but I think I was able to like get through it, so yeah.
Gotcha. And Sienna, what does Stewart do for computers, for personal
You
computers?
have to have your own computer.
And Phoebe, how about a Maggie Walker?
I do have my own computer, and most people do, but they have computers at school that you can use and just return at the end of the day.
Thank you. So did any of you have a shadow day at Open High School?
I don't think so. I went to the open house, but I don't think I had a shadow day there.
So what were your impressions at the open house of the Open High School?
I liked it. I mean, it kind of seemed kind of close to Montessori and like the freedom that they were given, and like they're allowed to like go off campus for lunch and do things like that. And from what I saw, it was like a little bit more self driven than I guess my school right now. And so I thought that that would be like a little bit of an easier transition, I guess. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. So the three of you, if you could go back in time and be an eighth grader again, just soak that in for a minute. So you're back in eighth grade. What would you do different yourselves for the application process? I'll start with you. Go ahead, Sian. I'm sorry.
I would stress less about it. I think I stressed a lot about mine, and then in the end, it turned out to be all okay. So I would just try to like make sure that I knew that everything was going to work out fine.
Thank you. Abhishek, how about you? That's a year ago. I'm asking you to go back in time 1 year.
Yeah, I agree with Sienna. I think definitely I stressed out so much about it when it really wasn't necessary and it all worked out at the end. And that's not like saying, oh, don't work hard, because I think all the hard work that I put in was eventually worth it, but I don't think that the amount of time I spent stressing on it was worth it.
Thank you. And how about you, Phoebe?
It's a little hard to remember exactly like what I was doing, but I think I would agree, stress less and just let's see, what else would I say? Um, I would say, yeah, just make sure you learn like every aspect about the school that you're going to, and make sure that like at the open houses and stuff, you really pay attention and don't like discredit a school just because of like one thing you may not like. Like really try to look into all of the aspects of the school.
Well, those sound like really great advice. Do we have any other questions that people would like to put in the chat box for us? We'll give it a moment. Well, while I'm waiting to see if any more questions come in, I really want to give my deep appreciation to Phoebe, Sienna, and Abhishek for their work tonight, and to take some time out of their day to help us with our process with our students. Got another question. So Abhishek, why did you choose Freeman?
For me, I'm really like into discussion-based learning, and I think I've said this multiple times, but it's just like an easier way to learn for me, and be able to like communicate my thoughts, and it just is more helpful. And also, I'm like very interested in like thinking about things critically, and like learning about social and global issues. And so I think all that kind of was brought into consideration when I was deciding.
And which other schools did you make the decision from?
Trinity and Henrico IB.
And I'm glad you're happy in your choice. You sound like you're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I don't think I would necessarily change it. Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I appreciate it. It's on such a beautiful afternoon. I appreciate your time and energy, especially Phoebe, Sienna, and Abhishek. Really appreciate you being here with us tonight. And we did record this, and we will put it up on our guidance portal. So I really appreciate all your efforts tonight, and thanks so much. And we will see you all soon. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are great.